digital transformation, we are seeing a proliferation of new technologies and innovative solutions that challenge our adaptability. Companies must adapt to change if they are to play their part in a competitive marketplace. In fact, if your direct competitor invests in technology solutions and gains a significant competitive advantage as a business owner, you definitely can't sit back and watch. So, how do you get on the digital transformation train? Keep watching the video to find out how to implement a proper digital strategy in your company. And hey, feel free to put a like as well. When working as a consultant, it's common to find organizations trying to ignore the digital change taking place. The reason is simple. They are afraid of losing control of the processes they have managed a certain way for years. It's clear that going digital is no longer a competitive advantage, but an essential change for organizations to be projected into the future. Therefore, you start to think about how to approach it, and you come to an important realization. You need a digital strategy. And about that, I love to mention a quote by Jim Rohn, which states, "Success is 20% skill and 80% strategy. You can know how to read, but more importantly, what are you going to read?" Digital strategy involves defining a new vision, mission, and goals geared towards responding to external digital changes. Initially, it will be drafted by executives and will serve to bridge the gap between the company from its competitors, the same ones who have already embarked on the journey towards digital transformation. Subsequently, many departments will be involved in the change management phase. The marketing department, the commercial department, finance and human resources. After that, all employees will be involved. A legitimate question in any change is, what about the value I have generated so far? The experience gained over the years on business processes and dynamics will be the basis on which the guidelines of the digital transformation strategy will be defined. Digital is just a new language that makes what has always been done more efficient and effective. The goal is to let everyone adopt a digital approach, a sort of common language that the digital employee will need to understand in order to align with strategic decisions. We'll now deepen the topic, but before we go further, I'd like to know if you find it interesting for your company, and if it is so, just comment below with the hashtag digital strategy. Certainly, the first departments to be involved are marketing and information technology. Their goal will be to enhance and promote the company through digital channels. In addition, they will be evaluating performance, customer satisfaction, and communicating the value of innovations to customers. Of course, change must always come through employee engagement. In other words, HR will also need to strategize. Indeed, changing work habits is not easy and requires proper training. It will also be tasked with recruiting new resources with skills in line with the future vision. Then, the digital strategy also reflects on sales. In fact, the sales department will be able to do digital sales, meaning combine face-to-face sales with digital activities. What is the outcome? The salesperson will physically meet the customer after the customer has already been contacted via digital channel by the company. Basically, they will already be engaged or open to making deals, and this will reduce empty visits. Also important is a proper analysis of the planned investment and the constant monitoring of ROI, return on investment, to make the right choices. If the strategic choices prove to be successful in the first phase, there will be an increase in revenue. This can be reinvested in area, processes, or actions that were initially out of planning. Finally, it will be necessary to invest in artificial intelligence solutions, process automation, and workflow optimization tools. On the one hand, you will need to improve business performance. On the other hand, you will need to make your operations more efficient and effective to achieve your goals. How do we know if we are on the right track? Technologies and process transformation necessarily require digital education. Habits need to be changed, employees need to be trained, times need to be adapted. For this reason, change management will have to go hand in hand with corporate digitalization. The steps to follow are the same as any long-term planning. Definition of goals and investments. We need a new vision that answers the following questions. What are the processes and actions we want to digitalize? In addition, we need to define a roadmap with a clear objective. We can choose, for example, between increasing sales, improving customer satisfaction, and acquiring new contacts. Scenario analysis. It is important to assess where we are, what we have already done, and what we need to invest in to achieve our goals. It is also essential to analyze the competition and assess the company's strengths and weaknesses. In this way, we will choose the right actions to overcome the critical issues. Planning. The actions here are aimed at redefining governance. The first step is to identify the milestones achieved. You also need to engage and inspire departmental teams to assess what the critical issues might be. Finally, you have to determine how to optimize implementation time. At this stage, it is essential to also involve external figures who will take part in the project. Strategy implementation. We are now in the operational phase, and from this point, we must never lose sight of the importance of working in synergy. Given the directives to be followed, departments must interact constantly. In this way, as soon as critical issues of bottlenecks arise, it will be possible to evaluate any alternative actions to be taken. Performance assessment. Finally, the managers need to set the KPIs to be tracked and constantly monitor their progress. Only by correctly defining objectives can we identify which KPIs are significant to their achievement. For instance, the metrics to consider are those that relate to sales, human resources, supply chain, but also customer satisfaction. In addition to internal metrics, it's also important to monitor the increasing competitive advantage. Let's be clear. The road to digital is always uphill, and once the first goals have been reached, the bar is raised and the first step is to be taken again. This process reflects the PDCA cycle, Plan, Do, Check, Act, used in business for continuous improvement. And by the way, if you want to know more about going digital, I suggest you give a glimpse to my video right here in the corner, which is just focused on that. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if it is so, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel as more content will come shortly. Plus, click on the bell to make sure you receive a direct notification whenever I publish a new video. See you very soon. Ciao!